Hey everybody, this is John from Code Planet, and today we're going to be doing an introduction to the Koa Node.js framework. In my other videos I covered Happy.js and Express.js, and Koa is a lot different. I think it's pretty cool. It brands itself as the next generation web framework, and in some ways it really is. So just a little bit of backstory. Koa is created by the team that created Express.js. And what really makes Koa different is that it's using some of the Harmony or ECMAScript 6 or ECMAScript 2015, whatever you want to call it. It's using some really new JavaScript stuff that hasn't even landed in all the browsers yet. So it's pretty interesting. So as far as requirements go, it's a little bit different than before because Node is has to be at least version 0.11 or higher. They're on 12 right now, but either one of those will work great. And then what you'll notice here in the installation instructions is that you'll have to throw this -- Harmony flag, and that's going to turn on all these ECMAScript 6 features for you. And I guess let's do like a quick example of using Koa, and you'll see right away why it's different, and then we can talk about it a little bit more. If any of you are on an old version of Node and need to upgrade, the two tools that I would recommend are NVM, the Node Version Manager. You can find this at github.com/creationix/NVM, and it's really great. Alternatively, you can use the Node Version Manager over on NPM. And you can find that one just by doing a search or by going to npmjs.com/package/ and then just the letter N. Either of those will work great for you and get you up to 0.11 or 0.12 or whatever the current version is when you watch this. Okay, so coming back to Koa, we're going to move back into the terminal here. I'm going to make a new directory, Koa project, and then I'm going to cd into that directory. And so we're going to do an npm init just like normal. And we're going to go through, this is just going to like kind of prototype up a package JSON file for us. So I'm just going to hit enter, but if you're doing a production app, you definitely want to fill this out with your information, name, version description, entry point, bunch of stuff like that. It's going to say, is that okay? I say yes. And then we're going to want to install. So we're going to want to do an npm install Koa, and then we're going to throw this -- save flag. And what that's going to do, it's going to go out and grab the project and install it for us. But it's also, if we go back and look at our package.json, it's going to add it here on line 12 as a dependency. So if we push and pull this project around, you'll always be able to just do an npm install, and we can stay on the same page with the same versions of software. Okay, so I've got Koa installed. And I've got this blank project here. All I've got is my package.json and my node modules, which has Koa in it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my index.js. The first thing we want to do, just like with all the other videos, we're going to want to do a require for the Koa that we just installed. So var Koa equals require Koa. This is how most of these videos around Node are going to start. And then pretty similar to Express, if you watch that video, it returns a function which you have to then call in order to get your application running. So something like var app equals, and then just call that Koa that we instantiate up here. So now we've got that going, and then also very much like before with the other frameworks, you can do something like app.listen, and then pass in a port, like 1337, something like that. And so that actually should, if we just save that out for right now and run node index.js, let's see, what did I miss? Koa equals require Koa app listen 1137. All right, that should be good. I'm not sure what I'm missing there, but I'm just going to move on for a second. So where it gets very, very different is, first of all, Koa does not come with a router by default. So if you want to do routing stuff like making different endpoints, you're going to have to grab the Koa router separate, which I'll do in another video. But the real thing that makes it different is instead of callback functions, which the other apps like Express and Happy are using, Koa uses ECMAScript 6 generators. So they look a little something like this. You do like an app.use, and then you pass in this function, and then we've got this star here. This asterisk declares it a generator for ECMAScript 6. And we're going to go cover what that means in a second here. And then you could do something like this.body equals, and then we can pass in our message here, something like that. So let me make sure that this is working before we move too much further. It's not working. Unexpected token star. Oh, right, of course. Sorry. So the thing that makes it different is this ECMAScript 6 stuff. And so what that means when you have an app that's using ECMAScript 6 is that you have to pass in that Harmony flag like I was talking about earlier. So you can't just node index.js. You have to node -- harmony index.js. And now we'll have the app running. So if I go to localhost 1337 and I go here, we see this hello world. This is coming from Koa now. So a couple of things here. One, the Harmony flag. What some people do is they make a bash alias, and what they do is they'll do something like alias node equals, and then they set it to node -- harmony. And you can put that in your bash RC or your bash profile, and then it'll always run with Harmony from now on. If you don't want to do that, you can manually throw it each time, but as you can see, you might get some weird errors like unexpected token, things like that, because the ECMAScript 5 regular node doesn't know what these things are yet. So just to kind of wrap up, let's go back into this file, and I just kind of want to talk for a second about these generator functions. So basically what they are, they're functions that don't execute immediately. What they do is they return a generator object, and you can go check them out here. If you just do a Google search for JavaScript generators, MDN, something like that, it'll take you to this page. It's the function star. And so what they do is they return, like I said, they return a generator object as opposed to executing. And so the MDN has a really good example of what that means. So they've got this function with the star called ID maker, and it sets this variable to 0, and then it says while it's less than 3, index ++, except it's got this yield keyword, and these go hand in hand together, the yield keyword and the star. And so unlike functions that we're used to, non-generator functions that would execute right away, like here when you call ID maker, if it wasn't a yield and it wasn't a generator, it would just print 0, 1, 2, and then be done. But it doesn't do that with generators, because what they do is they don't instantiate immediately. They wait for you to call a .next on this returned generator function. And each time you call a .next, it'll run until it hits a yield statement, at which point it'll pause execution until you hit .next again. So you can see what they do here is they instantiate it, and none of this code gets run. And then they console log gen.next value. And when this next gets hit, it instantiates and starts running this code until it hits this yield. So it yields out 0 and then pauses execution until you hit .next again and again, and then eventually it'll return undefined. So this makes it very different, right? Like our code looks a lot different than it used to with Express or Happy. But Koa is doing a lot of cool things with a lot of next generation JavaScript, and they've managed to do, a lot of performance tweaks, a lot of security stuff, so a lot of really, really cool and expressive code you can write. In the next video, I'll do some with the Koa router, but I just kind of wanted to give you all a feel for what it's like using Koa, and get started on, if you haven't already, getting up to date on these generator functions, because they're quite cool. Hope that helped. Thanks.